Hey guys, as I hope you know, my name is Hayley Quinn and I'm here with a very special interview with a very special guest today. I'm joined by the lovely Sarrah Rose. Now, some of you guys might know Sarrah Rose already, but she has been a massive hit whenever I've shared her wealth of information with you. Sarrah is a Tantra expert, she's a sex coach, and she has kindly agreed to chat to us for a few minutes today about a topic that loads of you have been emailing me about. And I wanted to give you a proper authority to talk to you about this, and that is sexual confidence. So thank you so much for doing an interview with us, Sarrah.
Absolutely. It's always my pleasure to be here with you. And I love your guys. You have great guys that you work with. And it's always a privilege and an honor.
For the guys, if you've been reading my newsletters recently, I've been speaking to you a lot about the importance of having basically your self-esteem in the right place when it comes to dating. That will show up for you not only in your ability to approach women you're really attracted to, but also having that abundance so you don't end up falling into those behaviors like chasing, accepting behavior that really isn't acceptable from women, clinging on to situations which you shouldn't. So I want to give you the ability to not only be able to go out there and meet women, but also to know how to choose the women that you connect with the most and who are also adding value to that relationship. And I think a huge component that keeps coming up of having that self-esteem in the right place to feel like when you're on a date with a woman, you feel confident in yourself about how you can make that interaction more flirty and more sexual, is having that degree of sexual confidence. I am not the right person exactly to talk to you about sexual confidence. I love to talk about all things dating, but I think when it comes to what goes on with her in the bedroom and also your mindset around your own sexuality and masculinity, that is just not my jam. Thankfully, though, it is Sarrah's. So, Sarrah, can you tell me a little bit about what you understand to be sexual confidence and how that shows up for you in men? Because I know you've told me when we were hanging out once in London, I do remember you going off in the nightclub we were in because you had sensed out some man that was, I remember this so well. You'd sense out the man who was just exuding that sexual masculine presence. And I think the guys would love to know how they can get women to react to them in this way, and what that sexual confidence is.
Yeah, absolutely. So sexual confidence, it comes from developing yourself sexually. And so I always like to compare things to fighters, right? Because it seems to be something in our culture that we understand a little bit better. So if, say, for instance, Conor McGregor, he comes walking by, he has this "don't fuck with me" attitude, right? Like you'd be a real idiot to go pick a fight with him, right? And he doesn't even have to say anything about it. You could just see him walking down the street and be like, I'm not going to mess with that guy, right? Because he has that aura about him. He has that energy. He has cultivated that within himself. And so it's the same with sexual energy. The more you practice something, the more you work on something, then you're cultivating that, you're growing that energy within you. And so since I'm specifically a tantric sex coach, Tantra really is an energetic practice. And so guys, I work with them to do different sexual practices. Each week, I give them a different practice that they do, and they focus on their sexuality. And the more they focus on it, the more this grows in them, the more confidence they have in their own abilities, just because they know now, well, I have training and I know what to do when I get into bed, and I know I'm going to be good. I know that I know how to satisfy a woman, and that goes a long way. But I've definitely had guys send me messages, things like, wow, since doing this training with you, I've had women approach me. They want to have sex with me. They want to move in with me. They want to get married to me.
It shows just how shallow we women are. And so but what I love, what you're talking about is, I say the same thing to the men and the women I work with, which isn't like you go on the date, for instance, hoping that someone is going to give you a spark. That the spark isn't something external to yourself that just happens. It's this feeling really flirtatious, really desirable, and really good within yourself. And if you bring that energy, you can actually wake up people around you. So like, say the woman is on a date with you, she's going to start to feed off of that energy and feel more sexual or more flirtatious herself, but it actually starts with you. It's not necessarily her turning up and creating that experience for you. So I was going to also ask, I guess, apart from maybe when a woman, like you gave that great analogy of Conor McGregor, and how would you say that women would react differently at different stages of the dating process to a man who has that inner sexual confidence?
Mm-hmm. So sexual confidence is real, true confidence, right? So this isn't somebody that is just narcissistic or egoistic, that's trying to impress a woman, but he has nothing to back it up. There are plenty of guys that can talk a talk, but they can't walk the walk, right?
Right.
And a woman, he may get her to come along for a ride for a little bit, but eventually, and probably pretty quickly, a woman's going to see through that. And she's going to end up despising him because of it.
Yeah. You're like, I love how you don't mince your words, Sarah. It's true. It's like, sometimes I think what also annoys me is men often feel like if they end up in the friend zone, I don't even like that phrase, a lot, then it's basically they get into this mindset where they think, oh, women just like jerks or arrogant guys. And that's not the case at all. A jerk or arrogant guy, as you said, he may get a little bit further, or some kind of like short term something, attention from the woman. But soon, especially a woman who's a high value woman who's got her shit together and is smart, attractive, secure in herself, she's not going to put up with it. She's not going to stick around, and she's going to find it kind of lame and quite try hard. Instead, I think the men that women really like gravitate towards, they're much more grounded and they just exude something. It doesn't have to be forceful. So if you go on lots of dates and you're thinking, oh, how do I sexualize the date? Or how do I show her that I'm a potential lover as opposed to just a friend? Even immediately by going down that path, or even I've heard some stories sometimes of guys even trying to introduce discussions around like what sex positions women like into the conversation. And that is a hard thing to introduce smoothly into a conversation. Yeah, but it's also trying to like push the sexuality angle too hard. And when you try too hard at anything, instead of appearing secure and sexy, instead you're going to appear like you're actually insecure and you're overcompensating. So we're not talking about you guys being that guy. We instead want to give you that really grounded sexual confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really is just something she's going to sense, and it's something that you have to develop this in yourself. So to become a master at something, you don't just wake up and do it. You actually have to put some effort into it, right? And so it's something you got to wake up, you do the practices in the morning, and oh my God, how bad is this? I have to do sex practices in the morning. My life's really, really sucks. But 20 minutes a day, and you just start your day out like this. I have guys report back to me, they'll have missed a week of practices, and then they'll get up and they're like, okay, I'm back in it, and they do the practice that morning, and next thing they know, they're on the train on their way to work, and there's a woman there, and he gets her number, and he's just like, because he has that energy flowing in him, and it makes it so much more natural and easy because he already put in the legwork. He doesn't have to go out there and prove something to her. It just shows up in his body language, his confidence, the way that he's able to carry himself, the way he's holding his head high, the look in his eye. All those things, women pick up on it.
I'm really glad you said that as well. And I'm just curious. I know that in this kind of interview, we probably can't go into loads of details, but could you give us a hint as to what some of those sexual practices or daily practices that men can do, especially for the guys out there who might be listening to this? Because sometimes if a guy maybe hasn't had, as I'm sure you know, too much experience with a woman, sometimes even as what we think of as so simple as kind of basic touch and knowing how and when to instigate that on a date can feel really difficult because it's a big unknown. So for a guy who's kind of starting in that place, what are some hints you could give us as to the kind of sexual practices he could do every day in order to start to build up this energy within him?
Yeah, absolutely. So really having a strong PC muscle is the most important foundation for all men. And as men start to get older, even over the age of 25, which isn't old by any means, but it becomes that muscle starts to weaken. And like any other muscle in your body, you have to exercise it to keep it strong. So doing practices of flexing that muscle, squeezing the muscle, and then releasing that, and doing that multiple times throughout the day in different sets. So you can do that for 20 minutes a day. And that is important for all men, and especially if you're wanting to do tantric sex practices, that is the muscle that you're going to use to help separate your orgasm from ejaculation. So guys can actually have orgasms and not ejaculate. And that muscle being strong is what's important to help you be able to have the orgasm and stop the ejaculation from happening. But also men that experience premature ejaculation, having that muscle really strong is important for them as well.
Yeah, I remember a great analogy or metaphor you used once was sometimes for guys, you can feel like a runaway train.
Yeah,
so it's just out of his control and he just can't stop himself. So the kind of sexual experience isn't as full or complete as he might like it to be.
Absolutely. There's definitely, and this isn't only guys with premature ejaculation. Like most guys, I mean, all men get to a point of no return when it comes to ejaculation. And so that's why I also teach edging practices. And in edging, men will, while masturbating, get themselves turned on from a scale of 1 to 10 up to about a 9.8, 9.7, 9.9, somewhere in there. And then kind of relax back, cool down to about a 7. And then they'll go back up and back down. And I lead them through this practice because they have to get really in tune with their own body. They have to know their body really well. They have to be very focused. They can't just be, spacing out, focusing on porn or something like that. They've got to really focus on what's happening in their body. And it helps them know where their point of no return is. So that way, when they're having sex with a woman, they're aware of that. Okay, I'm approaching my point of no return. Do I really want to go there? Should I cool myself down, slow down a bit? And also what that does is the focus helps their orgasms be so much better. Because when you're focused on it and like using the sound techniques, the breath techniques, all the different techniques that I teach guys, the orgasms they have are incredible. Guys in my program telling me they're like, the orgasms that they've been having are so much more intense, so much stronger. They didn't even know it was possible to orgasm the way that they are now.
Wow. I'm so glad as well that you brought up the porn thing, because I see loads of questions around that. And obviously it's something that really exists in our reality. Lots of people can maybe think of it in a very negative way. It's something that obviously men and women utilize a lot. And I think one of the points you brought up before to me was that porn, or using porn really super regularly in a particular way, how that conditions your body for a particular kind of sexual experience with a woman later in the bedroom, and how really what you're teaching is kind of sort of reconditioning yourself to have a more pleasurable, real sexual experience.
With that being said, there's nothing wrong with porn. There are plenty of studies out there showing the benefits of porn on society. So I'm not a porn shaming person or porn hater or anything like that. But the reality is that I am in contact with guys on a daily basis that are telling me that the sex they're having with women just isn't as good as they know it could be. And it's because they have less sensitivity from chronic masturbation, from watching so much porn. And so they're coming to me to help them resensitize, recondition their bodies so that way they can really experience pleasure in the way that they know is possible.
Yeah. And it makes so much sense to me when I think I was reading one of your emails actually, and it said something like, as a young guy, those first sexual experiences might be like hiding, your mum's outside cleaning the room, or you're at school and you just kind of quickly got to secretly pleasure yourself and orgasm, and how that is so misaligned actually with like the sexual experience you want to have later with women. So I also want to ask you, I guess, by guys bringing, obviously there's so many benefits for a man feeling just in yourself, like the self-esteem of building that sexual confidence and doing these practices. But what is the benefit that also has to the relationship he has with a woman, whether that's a woman that he has a relatively brief relationship with, or a woman that's maybe he's in a longer term relationship with? Because I know also lots of the guys that you work with also want to bring that spark back to their relationship, and also just be great longer term lovers as well.
Yeah, this impacts all of us because we all want sex to feel really good, right? It's one of the great joys of life. It's of being able to have good sex, and that's why I'm like, I have the entire world that I can help because everybody wants to be better in bed, right?
I think you'll have a lot of women being like, thank you, Sarrah, as well. You know, you're doing like God's work or something, like going out there helping.
So many women say that to me.
It's true, because I actually, you know, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I actually literally had this experience with a female friend of mine, and she had been dating a guy for a little while. They ended up having sex, but it was kind of just, she felt rushed. It was over quickly. It wasn't a position that was very comfortable with her. She didn't feel any connection between them. And it just, not only did it put her off, but it also just kind of freaked her out and created this distrust, where before she was really super keen on the guy. And then when she'd had that experience, she really wasn't. And obviously that takes two people to tango, right? And she's got to have her own responsibility here. But I also think for the guys, I think something you mentioned before was about it building more trust with the women that they actually end up having those experiences with, because they're able to have that more complete experience.
Yes, absolutely. Women will not be able to surrender to a man if they can't trust that he's competent sexually. I mean, I've definitely been in situations like that myself where it's like, what the fuck? You know, you could have done this with your hand. Like, you really didn't need me here. That's the thing, guys. Like, you're here, if you're having sex with another person, there's a reason for that. You know, we can all masturbate on our own. We can get off on our own. We don't have to have sex with somebody else. So if you're having sex with another person, then make it worthwhile.
So good that you said that, because that is like literally were her words. She was just like, I just felt like I was this thing that was there. And there was no like, there was no pre-game, no post-game, no, you know, no, she just felt like, how can you not satisfy me? She was pretty pissed off, actually.
I'm sure. Hopefully she blocked his number.
Yeah, I definitely don't think that one went too much further.
But yes, I mean, I definitely want men to be fully confident in their sexual abilities, because then women will be able to be confident in them as well. And you've got to be able to perform, guys. Like, we don't live in a day and age anymore where women just shut their mouths and pretend like it's okay. Like, we talk about it. We talk about if it was good or not. We'll be back or not based on if it was good or not. And so it's important. But really, a woman has, if she's going to surrender to you, and that is, surrender is the place of ultimate bliss. Like, when a woman is really surrendered, like, you can just feel her body melt into you. And it's so incredibly beautiful. And it's such a privilege to watch a woman when she's orgasming, and to be with a woman when she's orgasming. And when guys don't understand that, I mean, I don't know what's wrong with them, honestly. Like, because when I'm with women and like I'm able just to like hold them and they're in that space of like orgasming or post-orgasm, it's so incredibly beautiful. And it's like, guys, you have this opportunity to bring a woman to that place, like learn what to do. And clearly guys don't have the same body parts as we do, so they have to learn, and that's totally fine. Just, you know, you have a coach here. I can teach you how to be really good in bed, and take this opportunity to get the skills that you need to get.
Right. And I just think that's it. It's like, I think if you're listening to this, the chances are you're already learning and improving about your ability to date and meet and all of that stuff with women. And I think that's amazing. And I think we can't deny how like sexuality and how we feel about ourselves in the bedroom is just a huge piece of like the dating puzzle. And it's not one that said that I'm best placed to talk about, but that's why I'm so glad that we've got you here. And also for any of the guys that are listening to this, I did have a chat with Sarrah, as I know that lots of you before emailed me about wanting to get on and do some of her training, but weren't sure about how to go about that. And Sarrah has very kindly offered to do a very special discount, especially for Hayley Quinn fans and members. So Sarrah, could you tell us a bit more about your Sex Stallion training program and what you can offer the guys with that?
Sex Stallion training is a 7-week online course. Each week you'll get a new video and new audio guide from me telling you exactly what to do. And you do the entire 7-week training on your own because these practices are easier to master by yourself rather than with a woman. So master them on your own, and then you can do them during sex with somebody else. So it's all masturbation-based practices, a lot of fun. 15 to 20 minutes a day. I made it super sexy. Very definitely is going to pique your interest and keep you sexually charged for the whole 7 weeks. And it starts with strengthening your PC muscle, edging like we talked about, separating orgasm from ejaculation, having multiple orgasms, having full body orgasms, being able to move that sexual energy throughout your entire body. I had a client tell me this week, he said he's studying for a really big test, and what can he do to use his sexual energy to increase his brain, his intelligence, his brain capacity right now. And I said, orgasm in your brain. And he's like, I can orgasm in my brain. Absolutely, you can orgasm in your brain. And I teach this in Sex Stallion training of how to move your sexual energy. So that way it's not just pent up in your genitals, but you move it to different places in your body and you can orgasm in those other places as well. It's great to orgasm in your heart if you've experienced some sort of heartbreak and you want to bring extra healing and energy to that part of your body, then you can orgasm there. And so there's a lot of different ways that you can use your sexual energy once you learn how to master it.
You don't need a woman. In fact, it's a self-practice, because this is also, it's all about, I guess, that process of starting with yourself and actually beginning to emanate and exude sexual confidence. So for the guys out there, said Sarah's been really nice and she's given us a special discount code, which I think is called Hayley 100. So you get a really big discount off of Sex Stallion training as a thank you as well for listening to our videos and reading our newsletters. I really appreciate it. I've had amazing stuff about Sarrah's training. I said it's just not something I do. I think it's the missing piece of the puzzle. I think also going into your interactions with women, not only is this going to be enhance just the pleasure in your life, but I also think going into those dates is going to instill a deeper sense of core confidence within you. So I'm going to put some links beneath this video and I'm going to email about it again, I think. So, and also if you're watching on YouTube, I'll put a link straight beneath the video so you can get a hold of Sex Stallion training and go and check that out. And I just want to say thank you again, Sarrah. Your advice is, and your stories. I also always like the stories. Not only do I learn something, but I also get a good laugh. And you've got such a good way of phrasing stuff. So thank you so much for giving your time to chat to my guys again today. And yeah, hopefully we'll see loads of them on Sex Stallion training.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Hayley, $100 off just for you guys.